Hi guys, this is Precalculus, Math111, David Scher, and I'm talking today about doing a check of what happens when we have a complicated function to invert. So we go back, here is our complicated function, 7 times 3 to the 4x over 2 plus x, over 6 minus 3 to the 4x plus 2 plus x. I'm giving you this kind of you'll probably have a slightly simpler function to invert on your exam, so watch this carefully. Now, last video, we went over how to find that g-1 was this formula. But of course, now, we checked with a quick check, but that could be just a coincidence. Every once in a while, a quick check works even if the function doesn't. So what I'm going to do now, this one generally won't work. If you do the algebra right, this will either work or not work if the function is right. If it doesn't work, generally that means that you've made a mistake, either in the check or in the original function. So I'm doing g-1 of g of x, and that should lead me back to x. Right? I did g of g-1 of x to create the function. So I got to do something different here. Now, g-1 of g of x, remember g-1 of x is this formula. So I take 2 times the ln of 6 times g of x over 7 plus g of x. Every x in here has to be replaced by g of x. And that's over 4 ln 3, no x is there, minus ln of 6 times g of x over 7 plus g of x. Now, I take all these g of x's and replace them with this formula up here for g of x. So I took this formula up here and replaced it with all those g of x's with the formula. So I have, and I changed all my 6's, since they're now fractions, to 6 over 1's. So this became 6 over 1 times 7 times 3 to the 4x over 2 plus x over 6 times minus 3 to the, okay? Remember, the 7 times 3 can't be simplified because it's not a 3, it's 3 to a power. And that's different from a regular 3. And similarly, on the bottom, I made exactly the same thing. So you'll see that this guy over here and this guy over here is the same. So anything I can do up here, I can also do down there. So you're going to see that in the next thing. Okay, 6 times 7. We multiply numerators, a 6 and a 7. The 7's just, they're both integers, and we multiply them to make a 42. On the bottom, we have to make this guy a common denominator. So we take, let me move my face out of the way a little bit here. We take 7 over 1 becomes 7 times 6, the denominator here, right? This is the denominator. It's going to be the denominator of this guy is going to be the common denominator. So we take 7 times 6 minus 3 to the 4x over 2 plus x over 6 minus 3 to the 4x over 2 plus x. So now we have, on the denominator, we have a common denominator. Down here, we do exactly the same thing. So this guy, so once again, this thing, this giant thing, becomes exactly the same as this giant thing down here. So now we find some simplifications. What we do, well, first we do just basic algebra, right? We take 7 times, we distribute the 7 down here. So this guy, okay, once again my face is in the way, let's move it over here. Okay, we take down here and down here, we take 7 times 6 is 42, but 7 times this can't be simplified, it's just 7 times 3 to the 4x over 2 plus x. So what we do is scroll up here. Okay, so we get 42 times this over 42 minus this guy. And we get 42. Now, the 42s are not too surprising because they're going to cancel. What's going to happen is we have 42 minus 7 times 3 to this power plus 7 times 3 to that power. So the minus and the plus both cancel. And down here, it's exactly the same thing. So that makes a much simpler equation. We get 2 ln and then 42s, which times 3 to the 4x over 2 plus x. And this divided by 6 minus 3 to the 4x over 2 plus x. On the bottom, we have almost the same thing. 42 over 6 minus 3 to 4x over 2 plus. So the 42 over 42 cancels. The denominators cancel. And the whole thing becomes just this part. This is all that's left. So, sorry about that. It's uploading the other movie while I talk. So, let's see. There. Now, so this is all that's left after all that canceling. And you see this becomes much simpler. This whole thing becomes 2 ln 3 to the 4x over 2 plus x, and 4 ln 3 minus ln of 3 to the 4x over 2 plus x. Right, that's 4 ln 3 has been around all the time, and we're subtracting that off. Now, remember what ln does to powers. It takes the power here and brings it outside. So now this guy becomes 4x over 2 plus x ln 3. 4x over 2 plus x ln 3. So now we have ln 3's here, here, and here. Ln 3 is a factor of both of these, so the ln 3's denominator and numerator, so they all cancel. So the next line gets rid of all the ln 3's. And the 2 is going to turn into 2 over 1, because when we have a fraction, we always turn it into a fraction. The 4, in turn, becomes 4 over 1 minus 4x over 2 plus x. Now, these two can't cancel because this one's a factor and this isn't. So what we've got to do is 2 times 4, it becomes 8x. And this guy, we common denominator, right? So we put 2 plus x on the top and the bottom. Because 4 times 2 plus x over 2 plus x is just 4. Now, what's happening here is we multiply the 4 and we get 8. 4 times 2 is 8. And 4 times x is 4x. But just like before, the 4x minus the 4x cancels. And that gives us 8x over 2 plus x over 8 over 2 plus x. The 8's cancel, the 2 plus x's cancel, and all we have left is x, and the whole thing checks. So even for complicated functions, we can do this kind of checking. Okay, and that is what we've got for 418. And